Trey Young is a Washington Wizard, but will he actually play for the team this season? That suddenly in doubt. Plus, now we know the asking prices on Michael Porter Jr. as well as Keon Ellis. Are they worth it? And Giannis Antetokounmpo, maybe, kind of, sort of, makes a decision. We'll get into it. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Help us get to 40,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I am still annoyed, that the Trey Young news got dropped like 3 minutes before the opening tip-off of the Lakers game. What are we doing, NBA? Throw us a bone here. Plan things a little bit better, please.
No. They looked at it. They said, "Oh, wait, let me check really quick. Is Trevor live? Okay, perfect. Do it. Press the button. Do it right now.
Right now." Not only did they press the button, Adam Silver pressed the button with his middle finger. That's what happened. Good Lord.
Yeah, that was like literally the worst possible time.
Worst possible time to drop that. But the good thing, we have a month until the trade deadline, and I think we're going to get more activity. One of the players who could be on the move is Michael Porter Jr. with the Brooklyn Nets, who already got a first-round pick for taking on MPJ and giving up Cam Johnson. Now MPJ is having a career year, and this is coming from the Bay Area. One source speculating that Michael Porter Jr. for the Warriors to get here. Now, obviously, this applies to other teams as well. That Michael Porter Jr. could cost 2 first-round picks plus Jonathan Kuminga, plus other players that would just match salary. What does that tell you? And is Michael Porter Jr. worth 2 first plus a young player in Kuminga?
What did they have to give up to get him? And remind me on that, by the way. Just remind everyone on that. What did they have to give up to get MPJ?
To get trade? MPJ, remember the Brooklyn Nets gave up Cam Johnson and got a first-round pick plus Michael Porter Jr. They got a pick.
Yeah, that's great management there. If you're able to flip him and turn him into 2 more picks, I think they're going to hold pretty firm on that. Remember, the reporting around Cam was like 3 picks for a while or something like that. Him and Bridges were really high for a while, and it definitely didn't get exactly there. They got 1 back, but a guy they could flip into more. Oh, with the way he's playing, I mean, it's always hard to discern this because it's like, okay, well, is this just good numbers on a bad team? I think it's not just that for 2 reasons. One, he has experience on a good team and has still been able to put up, based on the usage anyway, pretty good numbers regardless, like 18, 19 points, and shoot the way he shoots. He's got great size, good rebounder, all these other attributes that a lot of teams will look for in a starting forward on their team. But secondly, it's not like his efficiency has dropped off or anything like that. Like, he's still able, with the increased attention, all that stuff, he's still able to perform, but just has better numbers across the board. Like, there hasn't been any marker, I think, with his production this season that says this is just, good production on a bad team. Like you could see from a lot of guys where they just constantly have the ball and chuck shots, whatever. But for him, I mean, you get him under control, under contract for a while. I could see a team doing this. I think picks, there's a huge variance with that.
Yes.
Are these like protected picks, late picks, lottery picks? Like, what are we talking? And then what years for what team are we talking? There's a lot there too. So I could see it happening. It just depends.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. under contract next season at $40 million, $41 million if we round up. And that's part of why the Nets got a pick for trading for him and sending out Cam Johnson, who was much cheaper. So that's part of why they got a pick.
They were trying to get off that. They were trying to get off that because they couldn't improve their team any other way. Right. So
exactly. And that gave them the flexibility to go do other things. The Denver Nuggets, there were reasons why Denver did the deal. I thought it was a good deal for them. But Michael Porter Jr. has really worked out for the Brooklyn Nets. Now, are they going to take the money and run and cash out while they can? I'm not saying MPJ is going to fall off the cliff or anything here, but they've obviously rehabbed his value in a huge way. If they got a first for taking him on, now they gave up Cam Johnson as well. But if they're able to potentially get 2 firsts for him, my big question is coming from, if this is Golden State that would be interested or would be doing this, if you're the Warriors, are you giving up, which we talked about yesterday, that 2028 first? That first right after Steph and Draymond and all those guys expire, are you giving up that first to get Michael Porter Jr.? That's, if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm wanting to buy on that post-Curry Warriors future. And maybe Steph continues to play in a couple of years. Maybe he keeps playing. Maybe he signs a new deal. We don't know. But I think most would project that the Warriors will not be as good as they are right now in a couple of years. So if you can get that kind of an asset for MPJ, plus get Jonathan Kuminga, and I know there's been reporting that the Nets are not that interested in Kuminga. Maybe it's a 3-team deal, something like that. That becomes interesting. But that also begs the question, Donnie, is Kuminga's contract actually being looked at as a negative here? If this is the price, 2 first-round picks plus Kuminga, I don't know that I can go that far, but clearly he's not getting valued at a first-round pick here.
And you're not getting valued as a contributor to this show right
now. This is what happens when I spend too much of my day working. Eventually my camera just says, F it, I'm out.
It did it on the stream too. It said peace.
It's unseasonably warm right now and it overheats. It's so lame.
Okay. Oh no. In all seriousness though, I think there's a possibility that could be happening with Kuminga here. I think if you're dealing with Golden State, you have a couple of realities here where it's like you can talk to them. The angle looks so different from you.
And now I'm using my onboard laptop camera.
You can talk to them and say, hey, you're not even playing this guy. Why should we value him that highly if you clearly don't trust him, right? A lot of times teams try to give these guys as much burn as possible so they don't have to deal with that. And then secondly, he would fit so perfectly in Golden State that it's not about so much what he would be worth in this situation. It's how much is he worth to you? Mm-hmm. And how much is he worth to you in this very short window that you have with the current core? And he's a guy who makes a good amount of money, but he doesn't make enough to where you have to trade the other star players on your team that you have notably said you don't want to trade. He could just slide right in, provide some size, fit right in with the shooting that they have, and he'd be great, right? So with that being the case, yeah, they'd say, give us the best that you can offer. We're not taking anything less, take it or leave it. And if that's the way that you're dealing with Jonathan Kuminga, that is a very, very tough position to be in, because that's not where they expected to be when they signed this deal. And he is their main asset to move, aside from those picks later.
Is Michael Porter Jr. Now they're not even playing Jonathan Kuminga right now.
Yeah, exactly.
MPJ is clearly much better than obviously that. You're getting nothing out of Kuminga right now, but what a turn. The Warriors have been trying to turn Jonathan Kuminga into something very, very good for a while now.
Yeah.
If you have to attach multiple picks just to get somebody who's pretty damn good, Porter Jr. has been fantastic, but that's got to sting a little bit if you're Golden State, if you have to add that much to Kuminga. And
you'd be turning a guy and maybe a couple of guys that are not, one that's literally not a part of your rotation, doesn't fit. That's been disgruntled for a couple of years, and maybe depending on who else you add in, could be a part of your rotation, but you're okay giving that up. You'd be turning that into another 30-minute a night player though for you. Like that's a lot to give up, but that's a huge plus up considering Kuminga is literally dead salary on their books right now. $20 million they're not paying. Like he's just there. So
he doesn't, and that's by choice. Like he doesn't want to be at the mercy of Steve Kerr and his rotations anymore.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I think it's a lot to ask, but if you're Golden State, you got this 1-2 year window. If that's on the table, I'd strongly consider it.
I'd want protections on those picks.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd want protections on those picks if I'm Golden State. Okay, let's get into, and we're going to talk about pick protections in just a minute when we get to Trey Young. We also need to talk about Keon Ellis and his value, what the asking price is on him, and it's not that high. I'm kind of excited about this. All right, we're going to get to that in 1 minute. First, quick reminder to check out Sleeper, our presenting sponsor. They are absolutely fantastic. You guys can use the code BULLETIN, get a $100 deposit match up to $100 when you use that code BULLETIN. Sleeper is more than just a platform for season-long fantasy sports. It also gives you live stats, updates, and visualizations on all stats, a news feed with lightning-fast updates, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users. Plus, their picks, which you see on the screen right now, are absolutely fantastic. And again, you can get that $100 first deposit match when you use that code BULLETIN. So download the #1 sports app today and see for yourself. Go check out Sleeper. All right, let's get into it, Donnie. Let's talk a little bit about this. Well, I'm on the wrong side. There. We'll talk about this. Keon Ellis, the asking price, easy to trade for him. According to The Athletic, asking price for the Kings for Keon Ellis is a late first-round pick. a late first-round pick for Ellis, and that can change as the deadline inches closer. Donnie, to me, this sounds, and you just referenced it with the Brooklyn Nets, this sounds very familiar because the Nets had this hard line. Oh, no. We need a first-round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith. No. We need a first-round pick for Dennis Schroeder. Well, okay, we'll take multiple seconds, right? As we got closer to trade season and they wanted to move those contracts. The fact that we're talking about a late first leads me to believe that when push comes to shove, there's a chance the Kings could take multiple seconds for Keon Ellis. And I think there would be a number of teams that would be very interested at that price.
Yeah, that's standard procedure, right? You start high and just work your way down. Like, it just is what it is. And so, yeah, that's pretty good. I still think trying to, like, that's what they should be doing in terms of asking price. But I still think it's kind of crazy asking for a first for a guy that is going to be a free agent. You may or may not even retain if he doesn't get traded. Like, I don't really like that. But that's what they should be doing. And in terms of that, I think that whatever team would trade for him, of course, would expect for him to re-sign on a team-friendly number for X number of years, right?
You would get the ability to sign him to an extension, and that's the key. Where he'll be extension eligible, and that's the big thing, is that any team that would be trading for would have to have the conversation, similar to, like, I assume we'll talk about them in a minute. Washington has already had the conversation with Trey Young. Hey, are you picking up your player option? If you're not, should we talk extension? What's that number? What are you realistically expecting? All of those sorts of things. Any team that would be trading for him would probably already have a sense of what it would cost to extend him and what he'd be looking to get off of this. But I don't think a late first, skill set wise anyway, I don't think a late first is too big of an ask for Keon Ellis. And especially if we get into a couple of seconds, I don't think he's a starter on a really good team, but I think he is skill set wise the type of player that a lot of teams would like to have coming off their bench.
Yeah, just like I said earlier, it just depends. We're hearing late first, this and that. It just depends on who it's coming from, all these other things. But ultimately, though, yeah, I don't think that's too much. I just think that I know they're not going to get that because of the contract situation.
I don't know if Michael Porter Jr. will move. I don't know if teams will give up the multiple first that they want, plus a young player and all of that. I feel more optimistic hearing this that Keon Ellis will move. I think somebody, even if it's a very late for, like, some team that's got like a pick 25 and above or something would make the deal to get him. Yeah. So I feel more optimistic that Keon Ellis does move, because I don't think their price is like insane right now.
Yeah, it's certainly better than it started as, because we weren't hearing late, we were just hearing first,
right?
And now that's definitely worked its way down. That's why I said standard procedure. We get closer. If he's still not moved, it may wind up just being multiple seconds, like you're predicting here. And his salary is so low that a team may be able to just absorb him, basically, in terms of just sending out assets and just a minimum player they're not even playing. So that'd be nice too.
All right, let's go here. The Trey Young situation. Hold off before we start printing those Trey Young Washington Wizards jerseys. Josh Robbins, who covers the Wizards for The Athletic, said, I would be surprised if he plays much, if at all, for the remainder of the season. He's not played in about a week and a half for the Atlanta Hawks. Been dealing with a thigh contusion, a mysterious thigh contusion, I suppose. But it sounds like the Wizards are going to kind of Brandon Ingram this thing, which is what the Raptors did last year with BI, where they didn't play him. They held him out while they were tanking. The Wizards pick is top 8 protected. It goes to the Knicks if it does not fall in the top 8. I think Trey Young does play this season, but if they are at any point at risk of losing their pick, they will shut him down for a stub toe. They will find any reason to make sure that they do not lose that pick, because it becomes just multiple second-round picks if it doesn't convey this year. Right now, the Wizards, if the draft were to stay chalk, would have the 4th pick. And they have the 4th worst record in the NBA, but you don't want to start getting, accidentally win a few too many games. They're only 2 games back in the win column of the 6th spot. Well, here, I'll show everybody. They right now are 2 games back up. I don't know how you want to look at it, but they have 1 more win than the Nets, 2 more wins than the Jazz, 3 more wins than, less wins. Flip it. See, I've got myself all mixed up. They've got 1 less win than the Nets, 1 less win than the Jazz, and 3 less wins than the Hornets and the Clippers. Ouch, Clippers. That means there is the potential that if they were to go on a win streak, they could cost themselves their pick. So that's the way I read that. Like the Wizards are, if Trey Young plays and they suddenly start winning games, they are not going to allow that to jeopardize their pick.
Yeah, there's a few teams that are kind of juggling something similar, like the Jazz, for example. Like I'm really curious if some of these teams that are in that spot don't wind up just selling or sitting guys, etc. But for the Wizards, yeah, they're gonna say, Trey, you sure you need to come back from that hamstring injury? We want you to play and all that stuff, get some chemistry, but maybe just take it easy and we'll play you here. And then, if you feel anything, let us know and we'll sit you for a couple of games. Just take it easy. Don't worry about it.
Relax, man.
We really want to be good next year, not this year. We're more so worried about next year. And some of that was exactly what happened. Like BI had a pretty bad injury, I believe an ankle injury, but some of that's what happened there. Where there was some reporting that, if I remember correctly, anyway, he could have played, but they just were like, no, we'll just take it easy, right? And so I'd expect the same here. The only problem with that is that I do wonder if the NBA doesn't get mad at some of that because of the reporting rules and stuff like that. Like you have to juggle that as well. So that'd be interesting to see. But overall, though, I expect them to play some because Washington's going to want to see their new all-star point guard. But I don't expect him to play a ton for them. And you know what? Also, if he goes out there and they're still losing games, you can play him as much as you want.
Yeah, as long as they keep losing.
If you keep losing, it's fine. So maybe keep him on a minutes restriction, right? That's all you need.
Trey, we're only giving you 20 minutes. We just want to make sure everything's okay. Actually, you know what? Let's make it 10. Let's make it 10.
No, you could probably, you know what you do? This is where you get scandalous. You play him 30 minutes a night, but you play him with the worst possible players on your team all game.
That's
run him in 4 guard lineups.
I think they want to try to have something to build upon.
No, they do.
Season, but that would be funny. That would be funny. Trey, you're only allowed to shoot with your left hand. we want to work on making you ambidextrous. It's important. All right, let's finish with this. Giannis Antetokounmpo. He finally said it. Said he will not come out and say he wants a trade. Said that's not in my nature. He can hit free agency in 2027. But Donnie, we've already said many times the Milwaukee Bucks will not trade him on their own. He would have to force his way out and say he wants a trade. Unless he leaves in free agency, I think if this is final, and Giannis did leave the door open, he said the as of today bit that he gets into.
He always has to mix that in there.
He always does that. And then he made this weird analogy with his wife, and like I can't imagine he's literally telling his wife every day, I love you right now, today, as of today. I don't know about tomorrow. Like, anyway, he always has to add that stuff in. But he did finally say, I will not request a trade. That's not in my nature. Great. Okay. Then the Bucks are not trading him. He's not leaving. And he could leave in 2027 as a free agent. Otherwise, he will not go anywhere. And that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. If Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee, great. I love it when a player gets to spend their entire career with one team. I hope that's the result here for Giannis. But I think that also comes with the acceptance that his title window is closed.
Yeah, there's some reporting around them trying to figure out a way to move some of their guys to improve the roster and stuff like that. I don't know what else they can really do. Frankly, I thought that way before Dame, and they still figured out something. So little do I know, right? But I don't really see another path for them to improve. They've given and given and given, and they don't really have the assets to keep on building around. They have some young players they like Rollins. They need to get more of those in there, keep developing them. But this seems like a multi-year retool, and I just don't know. Like his window is just going to be shut. Like he's not going to play seriously meaningful basketball to the way that he wants it to, unless they can bring in another star player, which would be another rabbit out of the hat situation. I just don't see it personally. But I do commend him for that, though. Like we've said all along, like we're not just sitting here itching for him to get traded or ask out. We've only just followed the reporting and tea leaves every time we've talked about this. But we've said all along that if he wants to stay, regardless of all the stuff I just said, then that's cool, because that loyalty is mostly lost on the new era of NBA players.
That's fine. You build cool. The man a statue when he finishes his career in Milwaukee. Absolutely. That's fantastic if that's ultimately what he ends up doing. Again, he can be a free agent in 2027. Maybe he moves at that point, but if he will not ask for a trade, the Bucks will not trade him unless he requests a trade. So that's that for Giannis potentially being traded, and teams that are looking to trade for Giannis should move on.
So what about the only other avenue here also is that free agency in a couple of years?
Yeah, 2027 free agency. Maybe that's a different story.
Yeah.
And that I think that does. I don't think anybody's going to stop saving cap space for 2027. I could say that, but this means that Giannis will not go anywhere else before then, because the Bucks will not trade him. Now, he says the Bucks could trade me if the Bucks say, "Hey, Giannis, this coming summer, what's going on? Are you staying or not?" And then Giannis says, "I don't know. I don't want to go anywhere, but I don't know." Maybe the Bucks, without Giannis saying it, are put in a position where they have to either risk losing him for nothing or trade him.
Yeah, maybe I don't want to say that's the end game, but that's another thing that could potentially wind up happening.
But that would still, I don't know if Giannis would think that would take the blame off of him. It would still be the same thing functionally.
Do you think that's what it is? Is he just doesn't want the blame on him of requesting a
to
trade?
a degree. I think he really would love to win again in Milwaukee. I think he has to decide. Does he want to win or does he want to be in Milwaukee? And if he wants to be in Milwaukee, that's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, I do too. I think he also maybe put himself in a bit of a corner talking about player movement a few years ago and super teams and all that stuff. And you don't want to look like a hypocrite if you wind up being in a similar situation a few years later or a handful of years later. But I do think ultimately, because of what they've done for him and his family, he'd absolutely love to be able to win in Milwaukee, but they just have given up everything they had to be able to get these players around him. And it just, for one reason or another, hasn't worked out. So they're just kind of stuck. But yeah, I wonder if maybe it is some of that just deflecting of the blame of it all. And which is why maybe he hasn't requested a trade up to this point. But I'm cool with him staying, mostly, like I said. And I just wonder about that noise from the Knicks this summer and that exclusive window and all that stuff. Like, had they had the picks and not given them all up for Bridges, would he have actually just been moved back then?
Maybe. And it's not like all the noise, because I know there's people that are acting like the noise just came from nowhere. Like, those talks happened. We know that. We know those talks happened. It's not like that just came from out of the blue.
Yeah.
So there have been, it's not like this is all the Bucks, Doc Rivers, Giannis, they're going to act like, I don't know, everybody's just making stuff up. I have no idea where this came. The damn media, they just keep wanting him to leave and blah, 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 blah.
Nobody makes Giannis always add the, if I change my mind, all that. Why do you even add that in the first place? For what reason?
And I thought Sam Amick did a great job calling him on that, saying, Giannis, how people are going to take that when you say these things, that you're leaving yourself out, but it's just human nature, and all these, dude, like that. Factually, it may be correct, right? Do people change their minds about things? Yes, that does happen. People change their minds. Kyrie Irving said he wanted to be in Boston forever, and a few months later he left, right? The Clippers put Blake Griffin in the rafters, all these big posters of him and everything. We want you to be our franchise guy and all this stuff. And like 4 months later, they traded him. People change their minds. But
none of those people said, yeah, but we may change our mind later.
Exactly. That's the thing. when you're setting up for it, that's the problem. It's Ryan Howard from The Office. If I flake, I flake, right? I am committing. I will be there unless I decide not to be. Like, that's what people get annoyed with Giannis for. But this is, I think, about as definitive as we're going to get out of him, saying he's not going to request a trade. So that's it. There will not be a Giannis trade this trade deadline. If the Bucks go to him and say, are you staying or going next summer when you hit free agency, this coming 2026 summer, they may want to have that conversation about summer 2027. And if Giannis says, I won't sign a new deal, I won't extend right now, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, the Bucks then may be in a position where they kind of have to move him. But that's it. Otherwise, there's nothing going on with Giannis for this trade deadline.
And that's not all that bad. I don't really want him to be traded. I'd like to see more movement in the NBA. Hopefully we have a good deadline this year. But I mean, if he's not getting moved, then everyone will just, like you said earlier, start positioning themselves for the free agency summer for him. And that's what people will do.
Well, and selfishly, I'd rather Giannis stay with the Bucks than wind up going to the Rockets or the Spurs or something like that.
Oh man, yeah.
That's also a factor.
If they, just last thing, if OKC was like, and they shouldn't do this because I don't think they want to blow up their stuff, but if they were just like, Milwaukee, we'll give you 8 first-round picks plus matching salary, like, what's up? Should Milwaukee take that?
For the good of the league, no. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, everybody. Give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Would you pay the asking price for Michael Porter Jr.? Would you pay it for Keon Ellis? What are your thoughts on Trey Young and Giannis Antetokounmpo's latest comments? Till next time, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe. See ya, and stay safe.